Hello, good evening. Hello, good evening. Good evening. So today, good evening and welcome to our live class for today. So I am not going to waste time. I'm just going to start drafting while I grab my pattern. So I'm going to start drafting my patterns while I wait for people to join the stream, okay? Yes, I pray that our network tonight will be favorable to us. So since people have not joined this and I don't want to wait, I'm just going to start drafting the back of my pattern. So good evening, welcome. If you can hear me, you're welcome. Let me know where you're from. Please let me know if our sound is okay so that we can just enjoy the cruise. Okay, let me know. Solange, good evening. Thank you so much. Is our sound okay? Let me know, please. Is our sound okay? So I'm just marking all of these lines, which I would explain. I would explain them. So let me know if our sound okay. Yeah. Okay. So guys, so I would do. So I have my pattern paper. Good evening, Janet. Is our sound okay? Thank you, Magdalene, for confirming. Thank you, Valerie. Thank you so much. Good evening. All right, guys. So like I let me show you guys what we are going to be. So this is a blouse. It's actually a gown. So I'm just going to show you how to draft the back part of this, so you can see that's the I said the back, sorry. How to draft the top part of this is a simple so for this you can decide to make it as a bustier, or you can decide to make it as a classic princess hat, or we're just for but for this I'm going to show you guys we're going to use a shoulder dart. Okay, so it's a simple bustier pattern. That's the simple shoulder dart pattern. That's what we'll use for this. Okay, so I don't want the cups, like it is like an English dress, you understand? So it should not be too, you're not going to pad it very well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do, so this is my back pattern. I'm going to mark my shoulder. So this is my shoulder line, my bust point, which is 10, shoulder to bust. Let me slow it down. So I have my first line, which is my shoulder line, and then from that shoulder line, I have my bust point, and then I have my under bust, which is 13, and then I have my waist 18, and then the full length of my blouse. So for the length of the top part is going to be, so I'm just using this back pattern as the mock-up. So you can see the front pattern. The front pattern is longer than usual. So my front pattern is going to be like 27 or 20, okay? So that's how this front pattern is going to be also. So but I'm just using the length of my back pattern. That's the front is just like the whole length that I have. So I'm just going to use that. Okay, so we're still going to draft it the same way. So it depends on how long you want yours to be. And then I have my under bust, I have my waist, and then the full length or the top length. Yes, that's the top length. So the next thing we want to do, come to this shoulder part. So let me set my camera properly. My dress. Okay, thank you so much, Janet. Thank you. All right, so let's set this camera properly like this. Okay. Yes. So now let's go. So I have my shoulder, which is 14. I'll divide that into two. I have 7. I'll add half inch. So that's 7.5. So from that point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Okay. And then when I down by 1 inch, from that point, I'm going to mark that. I'll connect it into the shoulder line like that. And then from this point, I'm going to mark my armhole, half of the armhole. So for the half of the armhole that I'm using, the full armhole is 15. So half is 7.5. So I'll mark my 7.5 this way. So guys, you see how this is. And then I would mark it this way. Okay. So the next thing we want to do, we want to create a curve. So for the curve, I'm going to check half of this. I'll cut half of this, okay? So I'm just going to mark that part like that. And then on this line, I'm going to mark my bust circumference. So my 36, which is 9. So let me give you the dimension. Our bust is 36, under bust is 30, our waist is 34, and then the hem is 40. Okay. So here is where you place your bust circumference divided by 4, which is 9. So I'll place the 9 and then I'll curve, create my curve. You understand? So the curve for my armhole curve like this, okay? Yes. So that's my armhole curve. We want to do, I am going to mark my full body measurement. So my bust is 36. I'll divide that into 4. I'm going to have 9. And then I'm going to add 3 inches, 1 inch for my dart because this is my back pattern, and inches for my allowance. So here it is. I'll mark it like this. And then I'm going to come to my bust. My under bust is 30. I'll divide 30 into 4. I'll have 7.5. Then add 1 inch of that, 8.5. Add 2 inches, 9.5, 10.5. So that's the stitching allowance. And then I'm going to come to the waist part, which is 34. I'll divide 34 into 4. So I'm going to mark it here. And then I'm going to 1 inch dot and then add my 2 inches stitching allowance. And I'm going to come to the hem of my top length. So the hem, that part, you can see that white part is 40. So I'm going to divide that into 4. I'm 10 inches. I'll add 1 inch for that and then 2 inches for stitching allowance. Okay. So when I'm done with all of these lines, I am going to join them. Can you see? So let me set my camera. Yeah, I don't want you guys to miss. So I'm just going to set it like this, and then I would mark here like this. Okay, no. Let's give the hip part like this. Then I am going to place my pattern curve and give her a beautiful curve like this. Okay. Yeah. So the next thing we want to do, we want to add our dart. So for the dart, we're using 1 inch of dart. So I'm going to come to this point. I'm going to mark my bust pan, which is the nipple to nipple. I am using 8 inches divided by 2. I'm going to have 4 inches. So like I said, I am using the shoulder dart. So I'm just going to mark it like this. And then this line, I'm going to extend it to the top. So I'm going to come to this part. I'm going to mark my neckline width, which is 3 inches. And then so for the back, I'm just going to use 3 by 2. I'll mark it that way. And then I am going to mark the round neckline like this. Okay. So the next thing I want to do, I want to extend my line. So I'm just going to check what I have here like this. I'll divide that into 2. And then I'll just place it so that I'll get the exact midpoint, and then I'm just going to extend this. Okay. So because of the allowance, the extra allowance I added, I'm just going to mark it this way. So I don't want any curved part. So I'm just going to make sure it is straight this way. Okay. So the next thing I'll do, I want to take out 1 inch of that. So I'm going to take 1/2 inch to my right and then 1/2 inch to my left. Okay. So that I will do it on the waist side, not the under bust. So 1/2 inch to my right and then 1/2 inch to my left. Okay. And that I am going to connect like this. Okay. I'll connect it like this and then I'll bring it to the waist part like this. Okay. So what you do, basically come down from your under bust. You can come down by 1.5 inches or 2 inches for you to start creating the curve. Can you see? And then you mark it into your hip line. Okay. So for that design at the down part, I am not going to put it now. Use when I after drafting the front, I'll place them together, as I'll place the front and the back together, and then I will use it to get that style line at the down part. Okay. So our back pattern, we're going to do well, just keep it and then go to the main business of today. Okay, so this is our pattern. You can see it is longer than normal because of the length. So the next thing now, we are going to add all of our lines on our pattern. Okay, so now the first line we are going to at the top part is our what do you call it, our shoulder line. So we're going to mark our shoulder line like this. So you just pick a line, you can come down by half of an inch and then start your shoulder line. And then the next line we are going to add is our bust point, which is our nipple point, which is 10 inches. And then my under bust is 13 inches, so I'll add half of an inch to it, and then I'm going to have 13.5. And the next thing, my waist is 18. I use 18 for the back, so I'm not going to add a side, so I'll maintain my 18 inches. Okay, so I'll maintain my 18 inches. And then my normal length, my normal top length, remember the back pattern, we actually use 24, so I'm just going to add extra to it because of those drop at the side. So I'm going to make this pattern, make it like 28. Okay, so those are all of the lines. So for this, you can actually what do you call it, you can actually use your own desired measurements, you understand, in case you don't want to use my own. Okay, especially for the length of the top length. So I'm just marking like this. Okay, so all of the lines, I'm connecting them. So we've got bust line, our under bust, our waist, and then our top length. Okay, so these are all of the measurements that we need for our. You guys should please like this video. I'm saying just two. Thank you so much, Mimi, Mary. Thank you. God bless you. I appreciate that. That's so nice of you. Thanks so much. You guys should like this video. Check this side. You see three dots. Just click on the three dots. You see the drop and button for like. You guys should like the video, okay? All right. So let's continue. So now we're going to mark our shoulder measurement. We're using 14. Remember our dimensions again. Our bust is 34. Our under bust is 30. Our waist is 30. Sorry, our bust is 36. I was wondering. Then our waist is 10. The hem, the top hem is 40. So these are the dimensions that we are going to be making use of. So I'm going to come to this part, and then I'm going to add my shoulder measurement, which is 14, divide by 2. I'm going to have, and then I'll add half inch to it. I'm going to mark that half inch here. So I'm thinking of taking out that from the shoulder. I'm just kind of okay. So if I'm going to take out that from the shoulder, I'm going to just add 1 inch to my pattern. Okay, so I'll mark it like this. Okay, so it's actually optional. You understand, for my bust, for my shoulder, that it is optional. So from this point, I'm going to come down by 1 inch. Okay, so you see the 1 inch, and then I am going to mark this into my pattern this way. So when I mark this into my pattern, the next thing I want to do, I want to mark hole, half of my armhole. So half of my armhole is 7.5, full armhole is 15 inches. So I'm going to mark the 7.5 here. So that 7.5 is going to serve as my, what do you call it? It's going to serve as my shoulder, sorry, my chest line, okay? So it's going to serve as my chest line. So I'll just mark it this way. The next thing I want to mark, I want to check what I have here, this 7.5, and then I want to divide that into 2. So I just want to divide that into 2. It is easier for you to divide this way before you start doing mathematics. Okay, so you just place it here. You come in by quarter of an inch. So I'm just going to come in because this is the front armhole, and this kind of style you need to take it in like it is really necessary. So I'll come in by quarter of an inch or half of an inch, and then I'm just going to create a curve like this. So when I create a curve like this, the next thing I want to do, I want to mark my, what do you call it, my bust measurement. So I'll divide that into, which is my 36 by 4. Here is 9 inches. So now basically what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to curve, that is like hit a curve that's going to cut across here and then get to that point. Can you see? So that's for my armhole curve. The next thing I want to do, I want to start imputing my darts. So for the dart, I'm going to be making use of my bust span, which is my nipple to nipple. This, remember our back piece, we actually used 4 inches. It was 8 inches, so you divide that to 4. into 2, and then that you're going to mark that 4 inches across all of the lines on your pattern, okay? And then when you mark that, because my pattern is pretty long, I am going to use my long ruler so that I just can hit it once like this, okay? So that's that. The next thing I want to do, I want to mark out my darts, okay? So I've marked that. So for the darts, I'm going to like I said, I don't want the cups big, so I want it looks like an English dress, so I don't really want the bustier to be like busty, very busty. So for that, I'm just going to use like maybe like 2 inches of that, or I could do 1.5 inches. So for this, I'm just going to just do 2 inches. Is okay, 2 inches instead of 2.5 or 3. And then from that point, I am going to curve that I'm going to come into my bust point like this, okay? If you notice the dart is on one side, I'm just going to give it a good curve. Can you see? You can see that it is not very big, okay? So the next thing, you're going to come to the top part. We want to connect our shoulder dart, okay? Remember, we use 3 inches for our back pattern, the width, so you are going to use 3 inches also for the width of the front pattern. So you mark it that way. And then for the depth, you are going to choose how much depth you want. So for this, I'm just going to go with 3 by 3, okay? So I'll mark my 3s there, and then I am going to connect this with my pattern curve this way. All right, so after connecting with my pattern curve, the next thing I want to do, I want to connect this to the shoulder to form the shoulder dart. So I'm going to take this like this, and then I'm going to place this. I'll divide this into 2 like this. Okay, this one I don't need to bend it. Remember, I extra 5 inch, sorry, of half inch. So I'm just going to mark it that way, okay? And then I am going to connect my dart like this, to that point, like connect it this way. So when I connect this part, you notice that this part is a little bit straight, which I really don't want. So I am going to take my pattern curve, and then I'm going to place it and then just give it a good curve. Can you see? So the curve, okay. So like I said, since I said I don't want to take out, what do you call it? I don't want to add a side dart, okay? So since I don't want to add a side dart, I can just decide to take out remember I added like just half of an inch on my pattern while I was doing that. So here is what I am just going to do. I am just going to take that out like that, okay? So like I said, this is optional, very optional, because normally when you want to take out a dart from here, you're going to replace it. That's what you take out, you bring it to this side, okay? So but I'm not doing that. So that was why I just took out just a little bit, half of an inch, so it will be negligible. All right, so the next thing I want to do, this pattern and bring it down, okay? So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this like this, and then I'm just going to create a curve. So I say curve, a straight line down, okay? So after creating the straight line, now we're going to finish up our pattern. So if you have questions, you can please drop your questions. Let me know in the comment section, okay? Like the video, the network, God help us. I can see it's just like one tiny bar. Hey, or more, just like one bar. So let's continue. So the next thing, we want to add our full body measurement. Our bust is 36 divided by 4, which is 9. And then I use 2 inches for that, and then I'll use 2 inches for my stitching allowance. I'll come to my under bust here, which is 30 divided by 4. I have 7.5, and then I'll add my 2 inches dart and 2 inches stitching allowance like this. I'll come to my under bust. Sorry. This is my bust, my chest line. So what I have on my chest line, I am bringing the same thing to my bust point line. So sorry about that. Okay, so the next thing, yeah, or you can decide to skip it. You can decide not to even put anything, not to mark it. Just mark on your chest line and then leave here. Okay. So on my under bust, I have 0.5, 30 divided by 4, and then 2 inches for that, and then 2 inches for stitching allowance. So I'll come here for the waist. I'll divide so 434. I'll mark it here, and then I'll add 2 inches for that, and then 2 inches for stitching allowance. And then I'll come to the hem of my blouse. I'm using marking, we're using 40 at 10 inches. That's 40 divided by 4, we have 10, and then 2 inches for that, and then 2 inches for stitching allowance. Okay, so the next thing I am going to mark, I'm going to connect here like this. So that was what I was telling you, this is not necessary. Just place your bust line, your bust measurement, place it on your line. Okay, and then you are good to go. So the next thing I want to do, I'm just going to curve here, and then I would net my curve like this. Okay, all right, so now we are done. The next thing we want to do, we want to create the style line for our hem. So to create that style line for the hem is a simple process. I am going to cut this open, and then I will open up my part so that I don't want to make mistake. Okay, so I'll cut it this way, and then I am going to, so I don't want to cut it yet. I want to finish everything before I cut open. So the next thing, I'm going to open this up like this because I want to create my style. Okay, so this is my center. So the next thing I want to do, I want to take a very good look at this. So this is my side. Okay, this is my side line. So this is where I am going to be targeting. Okay, so everything I'm going to do, I'm going to use my pencil for this. So the next thing I want to do, this is the center part of my pattern. Okay, so this is the center part of my pattern. I am going to mark my original length. So my original length is 24. So that 24, I am going to come up by 1 inch, so which is 23. So I'll use this line. Okay, I'll use that line as my original line. So from this part, I'm just going to create a curve like this. This is the center part of my pattern. So at this point, you want to bring your artistic skills to life. Okay, so this is 20. So here now, what I'm trying to do is depends on how deep. Let me show you guys this part now, this part, that's this height, that's what I'm trying to do. Okay, so this is, I use 22, so I use 23. So in case I feel 23 is not very deep, I can use 22. You understand? So this is 22. So you mark that line first. Okay, on that 22, when you mark that line, the next thing you want to work on this. So you just make sure you study your patterns before you go in. So you can see this curve here now on this side. So that's here, that line. So from this part, I'm just going to create a curve like this that is going to terminate at that point like this. Okay, see it here. So it's going to terminate at that point. And then when it terminates at that point like that, okay, when it terminates from that part, I'm going to create another curve that is going to come like from this edge like this. Okay, so this one is going to terminate here like this, and then here now we're going to take, you remember, you people know those our curve, our normal curve for our blouses, you understand? So for that, in order for us to have our normal curve for our blouse, I'm just going to come up by like 3 inches. Okay, so from this point now, I am going to create another curve like this. You get? So that curve is going to land at that side, and then we are going to have this. Okay, so this is the center. I am stopping here. So when I fold my pattern, I will be able to cut this out. So guys, I hope you understand what I just did. If you don't, please say it. All right. Timeless trends. Thank you so much. Mimi Mary, thank you so much. So in case you don't understand, you can just say, oh, so that I can explain because we are done. Okay. So you create a curve to your, from the center part of your pattern, a curve to your dart. That's the dart line, your side dart. And then from that side that you create a curve to the curve. You remember, you know those hem that we normally put, that's our side like this. Okay, so that's that. So the next thing now, we are done, we are going to cut this out. Okay, so let's give this baby a cut. So first I am going to cut this. This was where I was supposed to bring in my back pattern. So I'll place my back pattern. I'm going to place them like this. When you want to cut it, make sure you place the back and the front. You understand? You place the back and the front, and then you cut. You understand? Place them together and cut it like that, okay? So after cutting that, the next thing I want to cut is my front with the other curve on the side. You see the back, so this is how your back pattern is going to look already. And then see our front pattern. Can you see? You see that we've gotten it? Can you see? So now so after that, and then when you are at this point, you can just leave like half inch. You understand? So that it's not going to be too tiny. So the next thing, we are going to cut out the necklines like this, and then we will cut through our dart lines like this, okay? So this is how easy it is for those of you that have been wanting to sew this dress, and it is easy to sew it. The next thing that you are going to do is you are going to cut your fabric for the down part. Just cut your fabric straight and then pleat it or gather it along the lines, or like basically what you need, okay? So just pleat it along that line, okay? So just pleat it along that line. So you see, this is what we have, okay? And then this like this. Can you see? Can you see? And then like this. So when we join it, it's going to stay like that. And then this one is going to stay like this. And then we will add our back pattern. So like I explained, I actually use the front to cut the back, so you can see. So this is how you actually cut this trendy style. This style has been trendy for a while now. So in case you don't know how to do that, you don't know how to cut it, this is your opportunity. Okay, Victoria, please just join